If there's one thing South African politics never fails to provide, it's drama. And this time, Herman Mashaba came out swinging like a man who had been holding in frustration for years. Imagine waking up, checking the news, and hearing that your president allegedly kept millions of foreign currency hidden inside couches and mattresses. Not in a bank. Not in a vault. In couches. Suddenly every South African grandmother started looking suspiciously at her living room furniture like, wait, are we all secretly rich and we just don't know it? But jokes aside, Herman Mashaba wasn't laughing. In one of his strongest speeches yet, the ActionSA leader demanded accountability from President Cyril Ramaphosa over the Phala Phala saga, calling the entire situation a national embarrassment. And honestly, whether you support Mashaba or not, one thing is clear: this speech was designed to shake the political landscape ahead of the 2026 local government election. But before we break it down, let's listen to what he had to say. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Now let's get back to the video.
Just yesterday, the Constitutional Court made a ruling about President Cyril Ramaphosa's multi-million-dollar Phala Phala saga, a serious embarrassment to our nation. The decision by the court is that the Parliament Impeachment Committee reconsiders the matter and take the necessary steps to hold him accountable. I call this an embarrassment because any head of state that hides foreign currency in couches and mattresses undeserving of being in high office and esteem. In fact, he's a reputational liability to our country. My call to all political parties in Parliament is that they put South Africa first by supporting the impeachment process. To President Ramaphosa, my advice is that you save yourself and the country any further embarrassment and resign with immediate effect. While this ruling is welcome, it highlights the dangers of one-party dominance that has enabled the ANC to avoid accountability for many years. Fellow South Africans, residents of the entire city of Tshwane, our capital city, patriots, it was exactly 5 years ago on the 20th of August 2020, in the throes of a devastating COVID-19 lockdown, that South Africans witnessed the formation of a new political formation, a political party called ActionSA. This is a political party that was founded on strong values of building a non-racial South Africa that embraces our diversity. It was founded on a recognition that South Africa has been plunged in a governance crisis, a crisis that urgently needs a generation of competent and ethical leaders. Leaders who are capable to take decisive action and are ready to lead our country. We prioritize the restoration of the rule of law in order for South Africa to prosper meaningfully. ActionSA's strong values emphasize quality education as the foundation to build a democratic, thriving society. One where our children realize their full potential and are met with opportunities befitting a modern African economy. We consider public-private partnership as the cornerstone to rebuild and stabilize our broken municipalities. This translates into a crucial metric that government's role is to create favorable conditions to unleash private sector investments. As we focus on the future, we cannot be oblivious to our country's historical context. Colonialism and apartheid have left imprints in our society that perpetuates racial injustice and inequality. That is why social justice is in ActionSA's DNA. Ma-Afrika Borwa, ya matsatsi a kajeko, e re bontsha mathata, e re bontsha rona batho ba Pretoria wa re bitsang gore ba re bontshitse spooko. Our circumstances do utlwisa botlhoko bagaetsho. Being referred to as the most unequal society in the world signals instability that is the brink of chaos. While our so-called leaders won't admit it, our country is in deep crisis. Repealer in a country that adopted the Constitution Yarona in 1996. Only yesterday, we were recognizing 30 years of its adoption. This Constitution held much promise for the future. In global history books, it has earned a special place as the most progressive constitution in the world. However, the lived experience of majority of South Africans tells a totally different story. 32 years into democracy, it is evident that the government of the day has given up governing. Thanks to them, the majority of South Africans are suffering through multiple crises characterized by youth unemployment, poverty, crime, illegal immigration, and corruption. Patriotic South Africans, when you look at our record, consider that we are a party represented in all three spheres of government with a vibrant cohort of 6 members of parliament in our arsenal. As a new political party in the South African landscape, ActionSA is now uncompromising to demonstrate that what we mean as pertaining to fixing South Africa. Throughout townships and villages, there's evidence that South Africans are embracing us as a viable and trusted partner to save and fix our country for the benefit of all South Africans. The project to advance the Green Umbrella Project has equipped us with the representation of additional 52 councillors in the last 14 months. Nothing like that has ever done in the history of our country. In terms of our blueprint for leadership, the capital city, Motsoane, demonstrates that where ActionSA leads and governs, there is stability and meaningful improvements, as our national chairperson has already indicated. Today, Ridlemo Pitori to announce another important milestone in the short history of our party. The announcement of a mayoral candidate for the beautiful city of Tshwane municipality. By all measures, as this is a monumental step for our pride and our history. Our Senate, the highest decision-making body of our party, took a conscious and strategic decision to focus our participation in the upcoming local government elections only to municipalities where it will be difficult, if not impossible, to form government without ActionSA after the 4th of November this year. Our records, fellow South Africans, speaks for itself here in Tshwane. As we have done before, we will continue to demonstrate that service delivery needs strong leaders that are decisive, are ethical, and are focused on accountability. In every instance, we lead by prioritizing service delivery for all, stabilizing governance, and declaring corruption as public enemy number 1. Why we declare corruption as enemy number 1, I've always said, and I want to say to all of you, if and when Herman Mashaba gets involved in corruption, please don't cover for me. You know why? Because Herman Mashaba will never cover for you. For far too long, political parties in our country put themselves first. Their only interest is their power, their positions, and their internal battles over what they're supposed to do for what. Because of this, ordinary South Africans feels like foreigners in their own country. Majority of South Africans are neglected and forgotten people. We are going to reclaim this city for South Africans. When considering a political party that demands real change, remember that since the founding of ActionSA, we have committed ourselves to a conscious decision to break away from the mediocrity that has spanned a period of 32 years of our country's democracy. Remember that ActionSA has responded decisively because we believe in something simple but powerful, that South Africans and South Africa comes first. Not politicians, not political parties, no positions, South Africans. Mapitori, the future ya Masipala ya Tshwane must be under ActionSA leadership after the 4th of November 2026. Remember that ActionSA is committed not only by words, but deeds to fix our broken municipalities, our broken public institutions, our broken systems, our broken governance, all for the provision and betterment of the people of South Africa. Fellow residents of our capital city, municipalities are at the coalface of service delivery. When your municipality fails, your taps are going to run dry. You will have no roads to drive on. Your streets and neighborhoods are going to be unsafe. Your city will not be able to attract private sector investments to create the desired jobs. The future of your city, residents of Tshwane, is in your hands. I hope you are going to take full responsibility to create a better Pitori for yourselves and future generations. Do this country's duty by ensuring that you ready yourself and make sure that you are registered to vote on the 4th of November 2026. Let's usher in a new chapter of a prosperous city of Tshwane for all. ActionSA is that future that you've been waiting for. Give our mayor another 5 years of good, accountable, caring, and ethical government. I thank you.
Mashaba started by pointing directly at the Constitutional Court ruling involving the Phala Phala matter. According to him, the court's decision forcing Parliament's impeachment committee to reconsider the case proves that the issue is far from over. And he didn't hold back. He basically argued that any head of state accused of hiding foreign currency in couches damages the reputation of the country. That's a serious accusation. Because in politics, image matters. South Africa already battles corruption scandals almost every year, and Mashaba believes this one pushed the country's image even deeper into crisis. Now, for people outside South Africa who might not understand why this matters so much, let's simplify it. South Africans are exhausted. People are tired of corruption stories. Tired of hearing about missing money. Tired of politicians promising accountability while potholes grow bigger than swimming pools. Some roads in this country look like they lost a fight against meteorites. So when citizens hear about millions of dollars allegedly being hidden in furniture, frustration explodes instantly. And Mashaba used that frustration perfectly in his speech. He called on political parties in Parliament to support impeachment proceedings against Ramaphosa, saying the country must come before political loyalty. That's the key message he kept repeating throughout the speech: South Africa first. Not parties. Not politicians. South Africans. Now whether impeachment would actually happen is another story entirely. South African politics is complicated. Coalitions shift faster than weather forecasts. One day politicians are enemies, the next day they're smiling together at a press conference like cousins at a family wedding. But Mashaba's strategy here is obvious. He wants to position ActionSA as the party of accountability and clean governance. And then came one of the boldest moments of the speech. Mashaba directly advised President Ramaphosa to resign immediately to save himself and the country further embarrassment. That line alone probably caused ANC supporters to nearly throw their phones across the room. Because regardless of where you stand politically, calling for a sitting president to resign is massive. But the speech wasn't only about Ramaphosa. Mashaba cleverly used the moment to celebrate ActionSA's growth and to remind supporters why the party was formed in the first place. He took the audience back to August 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown when ActionSA was launched. And honestly, you have to admit, launching a political party during lockdown was either extremely brave or extremely stressful. Most people during lockdown were busy learning how to bake banana bread and arguing on WhatsApp family groups. Mashaba decided, you know what? Let me start a political movement. He described ActionSA as a party built on non-racialism, ethical leadership, rule of law, and service delivery. And that's where his speech became more than just an attack on the ANC. It became a campaign pitch for frustrated South Africans looking for alternatives. One thing Mashaba understands very well is that ordinary South Africans care less about political theory and more about results. People want electricity, water, jobs, safety, functional municipalities. Nobody wakes up excited about hearing complicated political jargon. Citizens want to know if the tap will work tomorrow morning. They want to know if the robots will function during rush hour. They want to know if criminals will stop treating communities like personal playgrounds. And Mashaba hammered those issues repeatedly. He spoke about youth unemployment, crime, corruption, illegal immigration, poverty, and failing municipalities. According to him, South Africa's democratic promise has been betrayed by poor governance over the last 3 decades. He argued that despite South Africa having one of the world's most progressive constitutions, the lived reality for millions remains harsh. That's actually one of the most powerful contradictions in modern South Africa. On paper, the country has incredible laws and democratic protections. But in reality, many communities still struggle daily with unemployment, infrastructure collapse, and crime. Mashaba tapped directly into that frustration. Then he shifted focus toward municipalities, especially Thwane. And this part matters because local government elections are where ActionSA believes it can grow the fastest. Mashaba argued that municipalities are the front line of service delivery. If municipalities fail, everything collapses. No water. No safe roads. No investment. No jobs. And honestly, he's not wrong there. When local government works badly, people feel it immediately. National politics can sometimes feel distant, but municipal failures hit people every single day. You can literally drive into a pothole big enough to qualify as a nature reserve. Streetlights stop working. Garbage piles up. Water cuts become normal conversation starters. South Africans don't even say good morning anymore. They say, do you have electricity? Mashaba also spoke proudly about ActionSA gaining additional councillors and growing representation across government structures. He framed the party as a rising political force ready to challenge established parties. Whether voters fully buy into that message remains to be seen, but politically, the strategy is smart. South Africans are increasingly frustrated with traditional political dominance, and coalition politics has opened opportunities for smaller parties. One of the strongest themes throughout the speech was accountability. Mashaba repeatedly emphasized ethical leadership and even made a very direct statement about himself. He said if he ever gets involved in corruption, people should not protect him because he would never protect them either. That line was clearly designed to separate himself from politicians accused of shielding allies from consequences. In South African politics, accountability often becomes selective. Parties defend their own members fiercely while attacking opponents for similar behavior. Mashaba wanted to present himself as different. Now, of course, critics would argue that every politician promises accountability before elections. South Africans have heard many speeches over the years. Every election season suddenly turns politicians into motivational speakers. Suddenly everybody promises jobs, clean streets, working trains, safe communities, and economic miracles. Then after elections, citizens are left wondering if politicians disappear into another dimension. But Mashaba's supporters believe ActionSA represents something genuinely different. They see the party as more business-oriented, more focused on efficiency, and more aggressive on issues like corruption and immigration. Another important part of the speech was Mashaba's emphasis on public-private partnerships. He argued that government alone cannot rebuild South Africa and that private sector investment is essential for economic growth and job creation. That reflects his background as a businessman before entering politics. And honestly, this is where South African political debates become really interesting. Some citizens want stronger state control and government intervention. Others believe the private sector must play a bigger role. Mashaba clearly leans toward encouraging private investment and creating conditions for businesses to grow. He also acknowledged South Africa's painful history of apartheid and colonialism, saying those systems left deep inequalities that still affect society today. But he argued that the country cannot stay trapped in endless decline and dysfunction. Then came another major political message: coalition power. Mashaba revealed that ActionSA strategically plans to focus on municipalities where governments cannot easily form without them after the 2026 elections. That's political chess right there. In coalition politics, smaller parties can become kingmakers. Even without winning outright majorities, they can influence who governs cities and municipalities. And South African coalition politics lately has been absolutely chaotic. 1 minute a mayor is elected, the next minute there's a motion of no confidence, then suddenly alliances collapse overnight. Honestly, some councils change leadership more often than football clubs change coaches. Mashaba wants ActionSA to become powerful enough that no coalition can ignore them. Toward the end of the speech, he returned to a simple but emotionally powerful message: South Africans must reclaim their cities and institutions. He argued that ordinary citizens increasingly feel abandoned while political elites focus on internal battles and power struggles. That line probably resonated strongly with many frustrated voters. Because regardless of political affiliation, many South Africans feel exhausted by endless political drama while daily life becomes harder. And then came the election push. Mashaba urged citizens to register and vote in the 2026 local government elections, arguing that the future of municipalities like Thwane depends on voter participation. He positioned ActionSA as the future the country has been waiting for. Now, whether voters agree is another question entirely. South Africa's political environment is extremely competitive. The ANC still has a massive support base despite declining trust levels in some areas. The DA remains a major opposition force. The EFF continues attracting passionate supporters. Smaller parties are also fighting for influence. So ActionSA still faces a difficult road ahead. But one thing is undeniable: Herman Mashaba understands how to communicate frustration in a way that connects emotionally with ordinary people. He speaks directly. He avoids overly academic political language. He sounds like somebody trying to channel public anger into political momentum. And politically, timing matters. With growing public dissatisfaction over corruption, unemployment, infrastructure failures, and service delivery problems, opposition parties see opportunity ahead of 2026. The Phala Phala issue gave Mashaba another opening to reinforce his central message, that South Africa needs stronger accountability and a break from what he describes as decades of failed governance. Whether South Africans fully embrace that message at the ballot box remains to be seen. But if this speech proved anything, it's that the battle for South Africa's political future is already heating up long before voters even enter polling stations. And honestly, judging by the intensity of South African politics these days, the next elections might feel less like a normal campaign and more like a full Netflix political drama. Except this time, the stakes are very real for millions of people hoping their country can finally move toward stability, growth, accountability, and better leadership.